Well, obviously, Lucy kind of suffered from initial trauma in that period when she obviously was taken into care and she had back into to foster carers for the first 3 years of her life. I think that had this massive impact on her, which we are only now in that primary age period seeing the results of.
They were getting difficult behaviour at school and at home as well, and we were suffering from, I would say, child to parent violence on a pretty regular basis. But it was all mixed up into one thing, and there was a lot of confusion. There was lots of conflicting advice, and we were felt quite isolated, and we just kept soldiering on, and we thought that there wasn't really an answer to this, and it was just something that we had to accept.
Yeah.
That manifested itself in aggressive behaviours, a lack of empathy with other children, a sense of wanting to be in control, impulsivity, all those things that proved to be quite challenging for teachers.
You know, to reflect. So, and she was violent to her classmates, probably daily, not continually, but there would be an episode most days. And she didn't show signs of empathy or remorse when she did something like that. She would have a justification for it always. Like life was unfair in the way she thinks and felt at the time.
And then it got to a point where we felt that we really couldn't cope anymore. So we got in touch with Tony from Headsight, and we were at a pretty low point when Tony arrived on the scene. But he came in and he gave us some very prudent advice on how to parent a child.
Life was getting increasingly difficult. I didn't know this at the time till Dad approached me and said, "Can you help? We're just really struggling. Lucy is struggling at school. We're struggling with school. Everything's just not working out, and we're really, really worried that she's so distressed all of the time."
I think, schools, when you have a child who's got an EHCP, you would look for recruiting a teaching assistant who would be able to support that child in the classroom. We were focused, now we realise wrongly, on the academic and the ability of the child to access their learning, so that would enable other children to access their learning. What we didn't really consider was actually we needed to strip that right back and look at the individual child and their emotional needs. And if we did that, then perhaps we could move forward. We didn't feel we were moving forward, and actually as she got older, the situation was getting worse.
She wasn't accessing any academic work, and she was a bright child. We knew that. We knew by her language and her reading skills, and when you talk to her, she had a broad experience of life, and we knew she was academically able, but we never could get the goods out of her. She wasn't able to sit at a table. The minute she did, she would disrupt other children's learning.
I think when we first started working with Lucy, she was down to half an hour a day, and at risk of permanent exclusion at the time. And for a Year 3 child, that's just desperate for somebody who just wants to have a successful school experience.
And then Tony went into the school and talked to the staff at the school, and started to get a picture of what life was like at the school. And he's given some recommendations and training, and he also recruited a specialist one-to-one with all the right knowledge, and that was in Kerry.
I was invited in with this new TA to join in that meeting for a while and contribute, but I think I saw it as an opportunity to offload everything, and every time he came up with yes, but her behaviour, she's doing it because of this, because of that, I kind of had an answer back. Yeah, but you tell me what I do in this situation. You tell me what I do then. I mean, you tell me when I'm faced with this. And, you know, so I was very much offloading all my emotional anguish, I think, on him that day. And my question was very decisively, do you really think this is the right place for her? Because at that point, I was beginning to think it wasn't. I didn't see how we could cater for her needs anymore. And he absolutely said it was, and he gave his reasons for it, which were very valid. And he absolutely was convinced this was the right place for her.
My main focus was on building a relationship. It wasn't about getting work out of Lucy. It was purely about getting her to feel safe in my company and enjoying my company and me enjoying her company. So we'd have half an hour, 45 minutes every day of just relationship building. We'd play games, we'd talk about her interests, talk about my interests. And as that progressed and the trust happened, and I was able to then start putting in firmer boundaries, she became happier, more stable, and more regulated, and we were able to then progress onto more academic stuff. So that's when we started focusing on increasing her stamina for work and concentration.
She had a lovely TA and a great teacher. However, neither of them really understood the nature of complex trauma or the nature of early adversity and really how that impacts on a child's ability to think, feel, navigate relationships or any of those things. What I recognised is that what we needed was a therapeutic TA, which is a language we started with. My assumption and our assumption at Headsight was that if we can work in the context that she's really struggling with, so in the classroom, then we can make a difference.
The hardest bit is right at the beginning of trying to form that relationship, because you're sort of doing it in a quite intense way. And she naturally is very distrustful of grown-ups. And so trying to sort of win around and show I can be trusted, I am reliable, I can help you, that was the hardest part, right? The first month, I'd say, just trying to get her trust.
And so I said, you'll have this honeymoon period where she'll be seeking attachment, so you'll be the best thing since sliced bread and she won't want to leave your side. And I said, you know, you're probably 2 weeks. And he said, oh no, I don't think so. He said, I don't expect any. And he said, because I will ask her to do something once, and if she doesn't do it, there will be a consequence. And I really thought at the beginning, oh my goodness me, there's going to be fireworks. And he said, so I'm not anticipated any honeymoon period. He said, because we start from the offset as we mean to go on. And I think my words were, oh, good luck with that then.
So building that relationship, getting trust both ways, where Lucy trusts me and I trust Lucy, that gives Lucy a safe base that she can go to. So she knows if anything happens in school, I've got her back, I'm there, and I can help her. If she gets really upset, I can help regulate her. And that allows her to venture away a little bit more, get a bit more independence, and knowing that if anything happens, I'm there as well.
I would say she felt safe. That's what I think she felt immediately.
While I'm building those relationships, I'm also putting in boundaries. And the boundaries are consistent, and I always respond to them in the same way. If something's not acceptable today, it's not acceptable 2 weeks from now, and it's not acceptable 6 months from now. Boundaries are always the same. That makes her feel safer as well. Boundaries give containment.
Obviously, he also advised me on how to practice in class as well. So some of my language had to change, which was really good, so that there was no ambiguity in language. I had to be really decisive.
I just think that the relationship approach is amazing. You can it works. I've seen it work in firsthand, and it makes sense as well. The more that Kerry talks to me about it and about the different areas of it, it just makes sense. And I've really tried to adopt my practice. I've not got quite there yet, but I've already seen huge improvements with things and been able to change my own practice.
I always start with connection before correction. Let's connect with the child. What's going on with the child? Take that time out to work out what is the child's behaviour telling me. Because all behaviour is communication. And an angry child might be saying, I'm scared. Or if we take some time out, be empathic towards that child and curious as to what's going on, we'll find that truth. And so what I try to encourage staff to do, and they've done it so well, is just be empathic. Think about what's that child feeling? How would it feel to be in that position? Accept that they feel the way they feel and wonder, well, what's going on? Why are we seeing what we're seeing right now? What's going on deeper down? And once you start to open that door, you'll get deeper. And once you can then do that, you can almost get to the root and make the child feel heard, safer.
So yeah, he very quickly turned it around, and I would say within weeks of him being here, the change was transformational. Weeks. Honestly, it didn't take more. I would say three weeks, there was massive change. And within a couple of months, you know, he was almost not needed.
And the other thing that we've seen is her self-belief of her work, of her, of her work and what she wants to be, what she wants to achieve, you know, that's higher than it was before.
Yeah, she's learning the piano. She's demonstrating the piano, her skills in the piano to the teacher and the other children in the class. Her writing has improved. She's now writing things down to express herself. Yeah. Her reading is wonderful. And she was capable of all of these things before, but
she's showing it.
She's now able to show it.
Yeah. And its biggest impact is the fact that I don't see Lucy's name mentioned in any other way than in the positive. Whereas previously, it was constantly coming across my desk, constantly having to look at ways that we could resolve the situation. Now, she's operating like any other child in that year group.
It's transformational. It's 100% better than it ever was. And it's just sad that we didn't know what we know now earlier.
You know, I would love to see more teaching assistants with a therapeutic background first and foremost, rather than a purely, yes, we can, you know, support them with their reading or we can support them with their maths. Actually, if we get the mental health bit right and we get those boundaries and the ability to self-regulate their behaviours, if we can get that bit right, then the reading, writing and maths can follow. If we don't get that bit right, actually you're up against a brick wall every step of the way.
For us at Headsight, what we recognise is not everybody's going to get a Kerry, all right? But the skills aren't unique. Kerry may well be, and actually is unique as an individual. He's an incredible individual and is truly unique. However, the skills that he has are not unique. What we're really interested in is what we've now termed therapeutic learning partners, because it's more than teaching assistants or learning support, that these are learning partners, therapeutic learning partners, and these are skills that can be developed. Many TAs and HTLAs and LSWs that are out there have already got incredible skill sets. We developed a suite of qualifications that are nationally recognised and regulated that take that skill set to the next level and also provide support staff with a pathway to doing things differently. I recognise that schools come under pressure to solve the world's ills. And I can feel the rolling of eyes and it's just something else we've got to do. I don't believe that's true. I don't think schools need to do more. I think we need to do things differently rather than doing more. I think that this needs to be a sustainable skill set where we have trained professionals who are supervised to implement the therapeutic practice, which is then sustainable over time. This isn't about everybody needs a Kerry. It's about you've got great staff. Let's provide opportunities and pathways for those staff to develop the skills for working with those children we worry about most, and those children that are most vulnerable.